see it? Can you guys see just the presentation?
No, I can see the surrounding stuff as well.
All right, let's see. Let's end show. Let's try that again. How do I stop share? Let's just do this. Oh wait.
Now I see your desktop.
All right. Now you can see the presentation?
Perfect.
All right. And just the presentation?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Welcome to my story, y'all. So I just titled this My High Highs and My Low Lows of Dieting, because that's exactly what it was. I had some really high highs and didn't recognize the lows that were in my diet until they were like the low lows. So my subtitle is Slow Down. And so just real quick, because I know I don't coach all of you. I just graduated from UT with my PhD in May. And now I'm at the University of Arizona State University as a lecturer in the College of Health Solutions department. So vital science is my part-time job, so I don't get to work with as many clients, but that's just a little bit of my my background. So I've always been extremely active, going from like endurance. I would switch, like I'd be like endurance athlete for like a year, and then I would just switch to a little bit of strength training for like maybe 3 months, then go back into like running. I just love running, biking, swimming. I just never focused on the strength training as much. But then when the pandemic hit, I kind of just, like everybody else, went to endurance, and I actually went the exact opposite. I started strength training. And I got really bored during the pandemic. So I decided I would needed a challenge. I don't know if any of you all felt that way, like maybe you took up different challenges. I decided, because I'd never focused on my nutrition before, that now that I'm strength training, why not also focus on my nutrition for the first time? The only other things that I'd done up until nutrition at this point had been counting calories if I thought I was eating too low. And then I would see that I was eating too low, like, I don't know, probably about 1,200 calories a day. And I just wouldn't do anything about it because I didn't care to eat more. So this is actually a picture of me with my grandpa. We were golfing. I went home in June of 2020, and it was on that trip that I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a challenge. So I went back to Knoxville and decided to try a ketogenic diet because, again, I just wanted a challenge. So my diet, that wasn't like, again, I wasn't even looking for a diet. I was literally just looking for a challenge. So I did a keto diet, but I focused only on eliminating carbs. So I didn't focus on any other macro. I was just like, I'm just going to eliminate carbs and see how I can do with that. Cause I mean, I liked carbs. I have I'm very much so a sweet tooth. I could eat all the sweets in the world. So I was like, why not give this a try, eliminate carbs, eliminate sugar. And I did that from July to December. I also at the time implemented time restricted feeding. So or like intermittent fasting, as we know it as well. I did a 16-8 or an 18-6. And I'll kind of show you what my typical day looked like with that. I began long-term fasting as well. So I started completing multiple 3 to 5 day water and coffee only fasts. And I did about 1 a month for 4 months. And how I got on that was I just started listening to all these health podcasts, started having these really interesting conversations, was reading research, and I was like, you know what, why not? Why not give it a try? Again, it's just another challenge. Like, can I truly like remove food and not depend on it and get this like autophagus state where my cells are literally like dying and being restored, eliminating all that toxicity out of my body. So I was like, that sounds awesome. I want to live longer. I want this longevity thing. And so this is what I did. Let's see what's next in here. Yep. And then, like I said, I focus on strength training. So I actually got pretty obsessed. I didn't think that I was an obsessive personality type of person until I started doing this, but I just thought it was so cool to get these metrics and this data. I actually never really weighed myself unless I was measuring my body fat percentage like once or twice a month. But I tracked my ketone levels. And I think the highest I got up to was like 5.5 on my ketone monitor. And if you like, this is kind of similar to tracking your glucose. I would just prick my finger, put it into this thing, and it would tell me my ketone level. The longer I got into my fast, the higher that number would build. And the more I was like, this is awesome.
Lindsey,
And then
hey,
this,
real quick. So can you define like where ketosis starts on a ketone level and like what exactly that means?
Yeah. So if you, so most people that are eating carbs won't even hit a ketosis level. Like nutritional ketosis, it starts at 0.5. I don't remember the exact zones, but I was in like the highest zone you could get to. So basically, if you're in keto and you've been eating throughout the day, at the end of the day, you'd probably measure between 0.5 and 1.5. But beyond that is like you're probably fasting, or you're eating like total carbs like 5, so you're not getting any fiber in. So most people that are in keto fall at 0.5 to 1.5, and this is me after 90 hours of fasting. And this day I ended my fast at 96 hours, so I got up to like 5.6, I think. And at that point I actually was kind of nervous, and so I actually texted Doc Pardue and I was like, is this okay? And yeah, so that's, and throughout my fast, I mean, I was still working out, I was strength training. I actually did double strength, like I would do double workouts to try and like get that glucose depletion out. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And like I said, I just became pretty addicted to it pretty quickly. And the issue is that I had no reason to go on keto. So although it was a challenge health-wise, I had no business being in keto. Keto is really good, and it's really good for reversing disease. I wasn't in that phase. And so I didn't necessarily need to be on the keto diet. All right, so the highs of my diet, we're gonna just start with, yeah.
I have a question. So that said 5.3, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that was when you were on your fast, right? So
Yep.
it went up. So it went up?
Yep. So the longer you go without putting anything in your body, the higher into ketosis you're gonna go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
how much ketosis you're in. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so like I said, like today, if I was to measure, I'd be at 0 because I'm not in ketosis. I'm using carbs as fuel.
And by the way, ketones operate as an alternative fuel to glucose. So a lot of the keto testers will test your glucose as well. And if you've got a ketone level of 5.3, you could easily have glucose in the 40s or 50s. If you normally had your glucose shoot down to the 40s or 50s, you'd be in the hospital. But ketones is an alternative fuel source. Like you can live on that.
Mm-hmm. And and you'll see this in the next slide, but when I was on these fasts, I mean, I felt great. Like the first day was okay, the second day was not great, but after I hit that third day, I mean, it was like, why stop this? Like I feel fine. I mean, I was drinking water and coffee, and then I would actually like literally eat sea salt to like keep some sodium up, especially before a workout. But I felt great. I didn't care to stop fasting. The only reason I did is because like, I suppose I should probably eat. Like I just knew I should eat, but I didn't really care to eat. So yeah, I was on a high. And it's kind of like that throughout the whole diet. So my highs, so I'll say my first 3 weeks of keto were miserable. I increased my workouts after like the first week because I was so miserable. I increased my workouts to twice a day, doing a strength training as well as like some form of like HIIT or like Metcon, just to burn more so I could like reach that glucose depletion quicker. And this is a picture of me after only like a month of being in keto, and I'm like, I don't know, you guys haven't seen me in a while, but this is like really, really tiny for me. So I went from 140 pounds to 130, and that's what this body comp analyzer is saying. So I was 130 pounds and I had a fat mass of 29 pounds, or my percentage was 22.4. So that's actually, I'd say for me pretty low. I just measured the other day my fat mass and I was at 26%. So it's increased quite a bit since this time, which I think I'm much healthier now. But so my other high was just mentally, my focus increased significantly. My ability to focus, I was working on my dissertation for my PhD. So I was like writing nonstop and I had never had clear thoughts up until that point. So not only was I tinier, but I was working way better. I had reached my first time ever doing pull-ups. I was like, wow, I'm getting so much stronger, not recognizing that I also weigh less. So of course I can pull myself up a little bit more. Yeah, so I had my first time ever doing pull-ups. And then of course, fasting also allowed me just more time to work. And I actually had absolutely no gut issues. So since like 11 years now, I've had gut issues. And during this time period, I had none. And so that was another like, oh, diet, this is great, this is great, this is great. So I'm going to show you what a typical day looked like for me when I was in this period. And then I'm going to go through actually some of my MyFitnessPal. I used MyFitnessPal at the time. I'll show you some of those daily food logs that I had. But really, I was on a high the whole time. I loved it. And I didn't care to stop. So my typical day, I fasted until about 2 or 3 p.m. I ate a breakfast like meal at that point. 4 p.m. I ate a salad with meat. 6 p.m. I ate dinner. 8 p.m. I drank a shake. And then I began my fast again. So it was just like that pretty continuously. So I would work nonstop from like 6 to 3 p.m. and then go eat. And again, my sole focus was on eliminating carbs to the point where it became a game for me. I would see like, oh, I don't know what that's going on. It became a game for me. So if you look at my, this is June 30th. So I think this was my first day on keto actually. And so I highlighted down here, my total calories was only close to 1,200 with only 104 grams of protein, high fiber, low total carbs. Then I was at, 24 grams of carbs total. So pretty low. Same thing. So this is July 1st, the next day. I ate a little bit more, but still only at 133 grams of protein. Didn't care at all about anything other than keeping that numbers low. This is like, honestly, the most typical day. I spent a long time the other day when preparing for this presentation, like trying to gather what my averages were. And I'd say this is the closest to my average. I had about 1,100 calories and only 100 grams of protein. So I was eating and not fueling myself at all. Like I was eating nothing. Anyone been here?
I have.
Yeah. How'd you feel when you were doing it?
Well, when I just did the low carbs, I was hungry a lot. When I was just counting my carbohydrates and that's it. And now this has been probably 5-7 years ago, but yeah, I was hungry, which is probably opposite from you, but I still craved carbs. It might have been the stage of life. Might have been the stage of life I was in too. I don't know, but anyway, my calories were real low, just like yours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the interesting thing is,
after a period of time, you get to where you're not hungry, but at first you're very hungry.
Oh yeah, same. I was like that the first 3 weeks. I was hungry and irritable.
Right, 3 or 4 weeks for me, yeah. But if you can sustain that long, that's the hard part, sustaining that long.
Yep. Definitely.
The interesting thing is some people feel like Lindsey's saying, just like incredible. Some people go on a diet that's very, very low calorie, that they lose weight really fast. They feel awesome. Some people feel terrible, but what I'm really interested in with Lindsey's story is the fact that she really, really felt amazing. And that kind of the turning off of the hunger happens with a lot of people, but people are like, yeah, great, I'm not hungry anymore. And we assume that's a good sign, but actually one of the reasons why your body can turn off your hunger is because it perceives you're not getting enough food. It's preparing you that you're not going to get enough food, and it knows that you'd go crazy if you were just hungry all the time. So literally your body can just kind of turn down those hunger hormones to allow you to kind of survive through a long period of almost, quote unquote starvation. That's a little extreme of work that you
And I had the exact same experience as Lindsey on the fast. You know, day 1 was kind of okay. Day 2, I struggled a little bit. Day 3, I was just fine. I could have gone another day or 2.
Yeah.
Yep. Crazy. And yeah, Andrew, to what you were saying, I mean, I like dinner was like forcing myself to eat a shake. I was usually so full that I couldn't finish it, but I knew that I needed to finish it to get even up to this many calories. So I was like, all right, I got to finish it. And so then I would finish it and just be so stuffed and miserable. And I'd only eaten 1,000 calories that day.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you ate it almost all in just a couple hours too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which ended up creating a really unhealthy relationship with food for me.
You know, Mary and I were on the profile diet, and we were only on 800 to 900 calories a day, and stayed hungry. My gut was tore up the whole time. I felt better, but my gut was tore up.
So that diet was just low carbs, or low calories?
No,
Did it
it
also
was a
cut carbs?
profile diet where we ate 5 of their fuelings and did 7 ounces of protein and like a 1.5 cups of green vegetables.
Gotcha.
That was
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll transition into my lows of the diet, because that works well, Kathy. So like I said, disclaimer, I didn't recognize these. I absolutely did not recognize these lows at the time. It wasn't until the end of my diet, actually post diet, that I found these. So like I said, so I went from 140 pounds to 130, which meant I also lost a lot of muscle. Like I said, now my fat percentage is higher, but my muscle, I have like 10 more pounds of muscle than I did here now. Now, granted, I'm in a different type of training program that's targeted for building muscle, but it's just crazy to think that I could have lost, even 5 pounds of muscle in that time. I crashed my metabolism. So I never ate more, that's supposed to say more than 1,600 calories a day. Like I said, many days were at 1,000 calories. Prior to this diet, I was probably sitting at about 12 to 1,400 a day. So I also became obsessed with food during my eating window. So like you had said, Kathy, like, right, like I'm squeezing all of that into such a short time period. And so therefore I became like that was my only focus in that time period. And then I just became obsessed with I need to make sure I finish every single thing on this plate because I already recorded it. I know what I need to hit my daily totals. And so just eat till I feel super bloated and miserable. And then I feel fine up until 3 p.m., but then it repeats itself. So I just became really obsessed with finishing everything on my plate. And actually before this, like my whole life, I got not made fun of, but my family really struggled taking me out to eat or like eating with me because I could never finish a meal. I was just always more of a snacker. And now I was like so obsessed with making sure I finished everything on my plate. So when I went home for the first time, my mom was like, oh my gosh, you actually like eat your meals. So it was a total shift for me and not a healthy one. And I started caring about my weight. I had never actually cared about my weight up until this point. And then I saw the weight loss and I actually really liked it. I was like, I like being tiny. Like, I feel like I look a little bit better. But really I had less muscle. I, wasn't a healthy weight. 130, I don't think is a good weight for me, especially with the training that I was doing. And so now I'm caring about my weight at a weight that I shouldn't be at anyways. So the immediate consequences that I suffered, so I broke out in rashes. So I ended my diet in the last fast that I did was in September, and then I ended my diet at the end of November. But after I did my last fast, so this would be my 4th fast, and it was 4 days, I broke out in these pretty crazy rashes. I woke up one day and I just felt some bumps on the back of my arm. And this was 3 days later after, so this was like one day I went to the doctor. It was way tinier than this. She drew a circle around them and she said, if it gets any bigger, come back. The next day it was like this. Then later that day, it blew up my entire arm. So I spent 2 weeks on the strongest antibiotic they could give me, thinking that it was a bacterial infection. Turns out it wasn't. Then a few months later, in January, so this happened in September, I started eating a quote unquote normal diet in December. And then I broke out again in more rashes in January. The doctor was like, well, they can't be bug bites because, right, like there's no bugs in January in Knoxville. So it was just, I was a mystery, and I had to go back. I have broken out since then in 4 different major rashes that are very similar to these, and they were miserable. So like I said, I ended the diet right before the holidays at the end of November. And I did not do any progression of adding carbs back in because I was back home. Carbs are just a part of what my mom cooks. Part of that I'm from Iowa. There's a lot of casseroles, and all the casseroles just have an infinite amount of carbs. And so although I wasn't eating as many calories, I didn't progress those carbs. And so by February, I gained 20 pounds. And like I said, only eating 1,600 to 1,800 calories. So I didn't increase calories that much, but I gained 20 pounds. I totally rebounded.
Whoa. How many people here have lost weight and gained it back before?
Yes. After the
Double.
low carb. After the counting of carbs, I did.
Yeah. Interesting.
It is just crazy.
Nobody else has lost weight and gained it back before?
I have.
Okay, yeah, was just
definitely
checking. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if that was something that happens. I just
Man, it's rough.
Now you're
And I've
trying to
been-
be a comedian now.
Sorry,
What'd you
Sally.
say, Sally?
Andrew is trying to be a comedian with that.
I've been tiny all my life until I started doing kind of like Lindsey did. I was just fine. I don't know why I thought I needed to diet, but I did. And then I messed myself up. And then I went through several iterations of counting carbs and going off of it and gaining 10 more back than my max weight.
Mhm.
Yep.
Hmm.
I'm with you. Yeah. At that same time, I also, when I started reintroducing these foods, my gut issues went out of this world. So where they were before I did keto, they were like tolerable. They weren't as frequent. And then I went with no gut issues. And then I went every single day after every single thing I ate. I had gut issues basically. I developed some intolerances, which we think that these are a result of potentially gluten intolerances. The doctors still haven't found the answer for why I'm getting these. We're still working through that. But every single time I get them correlates with me eating some type of gluten product. I was extremely bloated all the time. And so therefore I tried to put myself on a gut health protocol. Scratch that, didn't work. Revert that. I'm thinking that maybe like led to even more intolerances. So I was like, I just gotta back off, just start eating, like literally just eat more. Long-term consequences. So this is me, and it's a rough picture. This is me after a triathlon. But I had eaten at an Italian restaurant that said that the pasta I got was gluten-free. We still don't know if it was because I broke out all over my body again. So you can see one here, you can see one here. I actually ended up getting over 20 of these marks on my body that just again blew up. So I've broken out multiple rashes. I'm still about 15 pounds heavier. So I went from 140 to 130 to 150. Now I'm sitting at about 146 to 148 is my daily average. I'm still having gut issues. They're not as intense as they were. Like I said, I've worked really hard to increase my calories, but that's taken 10 months. So I went from eating, about 1,400 down to 1,000, up to 1,600 to 1,800. I finally have broken that 2,000 calorie daily total, which took me a long time because I was miserable eating. I'm not motivated by food necessarily. That's not my biggest challenge with food. And so me to break this 2,000 calories was really hard, especially once I moved to Arizona. I actually started eating less again because of stress. I know Andrew talks about himself being a stress non-eater. I'm the exact same. So then breaking 2,000 calories is really hard. Now I'm up to about 2,200 daily, but it's taken time. However, I will say I've had to learn how to not obsess with ensuring I'm eating everything on my plate. And I'm just like, I track things and then I untrack things is how I basically go throughout my day, just to keep the focus not on only hitting my macros, but learning how to enjoy food and actually eat in that way too, because I was only eating for the numbers. I really want to diet because I know I'm sitting at a higher body fat percentage than I should be. I can see the bloating in my stomach. You can see here that, like, if you look at the previous picture that I put up, I mean, my arms have gotten quite a bit bigger. You can see like a little bit of a belly. I know this isn't, for some of you might be like, no, like, and I get that, but for me, this is like sitting at heavier than I had ever in my life. 150 is actually the heaviest that I've ever weighed. So it's just way, right. That rebound is really rough. And now I'm paying for my own health coach. So all of this just led to me spending more money. A good pandemic challenge leads to good money being spent. I don't know why it's taken away. So final thoughts are that although I felt a high, too much of anything is not good. And I was too much of everything, too much fasting, too much dieting, for too long. It was way too aggressive. And so what turned into a challenge really turned into like this full year of consequences. It was only a year ago, less than a year ago, that I came off of keto, and I'm still experiencing these challenges, both physically in my body, but also just mentally, of like kind of re-understanding, like, I don't need to lose weight. Right now I feel way more energized than I was, when I broke this diet. I'm feeling more energized. I'm getting way stronger. I'm sleeping better. Like, I wouldn't sleep during my fast, but I still thought it was okay. I'm kind of reorganizing in my mind what food means and the purpose of food, and still working through that for myself, and not being so focused on shoving it in my face, but learning to eat 2,000 calories in a really strategic way that I can still enjoy the food. So I know I've talked to my clients a ton about, like, let's strategize on your meal structure. And that's something that I'm working through too, because I want to enjoy my food and not at the end of the day be cramming food in just to hit those macros. So right now with my coach, I'm also working on that. Like, what's the best structure of my meals and snacks throughout the day? So I'm not feeling miserable. So like I said, I'm working on refocusing, enjoying that food, but also, because I can't diet, I'm like, you know what, let's just work on performance. So I'm actually in a really solid strength program where I'm working on increasing my 1 rep maxes. I actually retested my deadlift after 5 weeks on Tuesday, and I increased my deadlift by 35 pounds.
Wow.
So although I can't diet yet, I'm having a ton of fun just focusing in the gym and like, all right, let's just see how freaking strong I can get now. And that's been pretty cool. So now focusing on protein, my current macros are about 155 grams of protein. And I'm at 80 grams of fat and about 230 grams of carbs, I believe. Yeah. So I've completely refocused. This is my gym at ASU that I work out in and teach in. So I had to post a picture because this is a sunrise and it was really beautiful. And this is where I get to practice my 1 rep maxes. So yeah, tell me, what are your thoughts? What do you relate to? What do you have questions on?
Did you slowly build your macros back up? Your calories back up?
Yeah.
How did you do that? You did it very slowly? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken 10 months to get up from 1,600 to 2,200. And I needed that just, because of where I was at with the food. Like, so it's like some people can progress pretty quickly in their calories and they're not going to gain weight. And I didn't gain any weight when I started doing it in a methodical way. But yeah, I was increasing only about 100 every month. Literally because one, I didn't have a coach. Like, I know it's like, you might know a lot of things about what you're doing. Like, I know how to increase calories. I know how to like plan out meals with clients, and yet it's hard to implement it with yourself. So it took me a long time. About every month I was just adding another 100 calories, but then I had setbacks like a high stressful life, like graduating with my PhD, being homeless for 2 months, moving across the country, starting a new job. And so all those things, like each time one of those happened, it's like I started eating less again. And I was like, no, I need to eat more. And so it's just kind of back and forth. So now I'm definitely at a much healthier point where like I know how much I need to eat. I don't need to track everything I need to eat because I know already, like, you know, like Andrew talks about, like what can you eat that's the size of your palm and how much does that equal in protein? And so I'm much better at that and able to not stress about it as much. But yeah, it took me 10 full months to build up.
Yeah, I think that's kind of key to keep from gaining a lot of weight, is to just gradually increase those calories.
And
yeah,
so,
it really is.
Lindsey, if I could just share a couple of thoughts as well that kind of goes with that, Karen, is so like, why am I really excited that Lindsey gets to share some of this story? To like putting it in context for us as coaches, and then let's help put it in context for you as an individual. The first thing is like, if we break some rules with dieting, you'd be amazed at how long it can take you to recover. And so many of the clients that we work with, you know, when we start with you, we might have an idea of what we want to get into with you, but you know, we've got to discover with you, especially if you have a diet history. Okay, like what from that diet history is still with you, and how long is it going to take to kind of recover some of that? And guys, it might take a long time. But if we put this in context of 95% of people do not keep weight off that they lose, right? 95%. It's higher than that over 5 years. So we're all sort of playing at a game that is almost guaranteed to fail. You know, it's not a game, obviously, but you know, like the dieting world is a world of failures. So how are we going to be different? Well, we learn from our clients, we learn from our mistakes. And one of the biggest things that we do is we have really clear goals, and we really try to practice patience and try to help you practice patience. So instead of just, hey, let's just diet, let's just, like Lindsey wants a challenge. Well, Lindsey, what do we want to accomplish? Why do we want to accomplish that? Okay, let's be realistic about like, how can we structure this such that if you do want to lose weight, and by the way, you started losing weight, you feel really good about it, let's set some realistic weight loss goals that you're going to be able to maintain as you go off of that diet. And, you know, something like eating more than 2,000 calories seems pretty simple, but it, you know, Lindsey, it took you eight months to get up that high. But you're in a much better place now, having learned from the mistake in the past. And if you rush it, you can really, really mess some things up.
And I will say, it's like, go ahead.
I'm really concerned about, I'm going for Thanksgiving down to my younger sister's, and she can be really critical of my diet or how I eat. And she knows I lost weight, and I've not told her how much I've put back on. And I'm just really concerned. How do you get through something like that? I mean,
yeah, it's tough. And it's taken a lot of like really crucial conversations. Like for me, I really struggle when I go home because, like I said, my mom is, and she loves to provide. That's the way she like loves us and shows how much she cares and loves for us, is just by cooking. And so every time I come home, she like, oh my gosh, I made your favorite cookies and I made this really great apple cake. And it's like, right, treats galore, and it's cooking galore. And we have so much family over all the time, and we always have bowls of like snacks out. And so for me, it took like, Mom, I know you want to make me cookies. Please don't. Like, I love you so much, and I can't have that temptation around. And then it also took me just bringing home my own stuff when I go. So I brought Premier protein shakes. I brought beef sticks, dried mango slices, because I am eating carbs. So things like that have absolutely no sugar in them, and that like I can snack on instead of snacking on everything else in the house. So for me, it's taken a lot of like those conversations. After I told her like, please no sweets, then she transitioned into like healthy sweets. I'm like, no, Mom, just nothing. Please.
well, she just thinks that I should be on 1,200 calories, and that, I mean, there's no compromise with her when it comes to what she's like, you just need to do 1,200 calories.
And how many are you eating right now, Kathy?
About 16.
Kathy, I mean, I would just like literally, share this video. Like you've tried 1,200 calories, you've tried less than that. And that's at some point you're like, look, Kathy, but what you're asking is how do you get people to understand this on one level, right? Hey, if you could teach me, then please tell me, because it takes me a long time for my clients to get this, right? Almost every client I work with, the majority of my clients have done a lot of dieting in the past. And as a result, most of my clients aren't eating very much. They've lost a lot of weight in the past and they've gained it back. So most of my clients, what do? Hey, I need you to eat more. And they said, really? That's the first thing you've told me? And Kathy, I'll get all the time. You and I actually might have a call about this because I'd love to learn from you on this. I get all the time. Well, no, Andrew, I've had success losing weight in the past when I eat less than 1,000 calories. And it's awkward, right? Because it's like, well, how do you define success? Well, I lost weight. Okay, well, then what happened? Well, I gained back twice as much weight as I lost. And it's like, yeah, so we've got to change the paradigm. And we've heard so much about the calories in, calories out, which leads people to just like literally, Kathy, I have a call with somebody every day who's not ready to get accountability, who's not ready to take the narrow road. And they all say the same thing. They say, I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. I know what eating healthy means, and I know how to lose weight. I hear those three things on a phone call every single day. And the bottom line is people don't know. They don't know what it is to be healthy. They don't know how to do it. And it's not a knock. It's just the reality of it. So it's hard to get people to understand this, but we're on a mission to help people understand it for themselves. And I mean, Kathy, there's been some weight regain as we anticipated because the calories were so low. You've made strength gains, you've made energy gains, your blood work's looking great. So it just depends on what lens you're looking at it through. And if the first thing that we can do is just look at you and put weight loss to the side and say, what are our goals? So Karen mentioned earlier, Karen's fasted. I coached Karen through a fast. She did a great job. She had a great result. We had a specific goal for Karen on her fast. We didn't overdo it. Ketogenic diet. Lindsey's got several clients on keto right now, several clients doing some kind of fasting window, right? Like all things can work to your good. We just have to have a really clear goal and context for those. And Karen, can I share your story real quick, your fasting story?
Yes.
So our goal was what? Your blood pressure, correct?
Well, I don't know that we went into it with that goal. I just thought I would try to start my fast that way because let's see, what was it that fasting usually does?
Well, it was the fatty liver and your blood pressure.
Yeah, so it was the fatty liver.
Yeah.
It was the fatty liver. I was wanting to get rid of that deep internal fat. I thought, well, that'd be a good way to start a diet. Just do that. But the surprise was my blood pressure went boom.
Blood pressure med. So Karen, and maybe I didn't dive into this as much as I would have, but when you've got high blood pressure, fasting is particularly good for that. And fatty liver, there's a couple of studies that show that like a 2 to 4 day fast actually gets rid of as much as 40% of the fat around your liver, which is a critical organ. So I say, Karen, let's start your diet phase with a fast, and then let's get back into a less aggressive, very, very minorly restricted diet where you lose about a pound a week. And got off the blood pressure med on the third day. You've never gone back on it. You continue to lose weight. You're feeling great. And, we have some balance and you're able to live your normal life while still dieting. So
yeah, my blood pressure 2 hours ago was still low too. And I took it late this morning, like after I've been up moving around, and it's still low.
Yes.
It's
amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, it's you talked about patience earlier, Karen and Andrew, and I like Andrew, I don't know if I'm speaking for you too, but I have to practice patience even with myself with clients, because sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, if we were to diet, you really could lose some weight, and it's like, wait a minute, nope, we're not doing that yet, and reminding our clients of that too, of let's think long term here. And so for me personally, what that looks like is now with my coach, I'm actually not going to diet until after the holidays in January. And at that point, I mean, we're still going to build me up like beyond, we're thinking, you know, upwards of maybe 2,600 would be good for me. And at that point, if I do that at 2,600, if I get up to that, I mean, I could be dieting at 2,200, at 2,000. And to me, that's super exciting because I'm thinking now, I'm like, man, I'm eating 2,000 calories right now. This could be my diet. Like, that's awesome. And I'm pretty excited about that. So,
well, you see, with me, I have the opposite issue with my family. Like my family was just in over the weekend. Okay. So it's like eat. They're not trying to reduce my calories. They're trying to increase my calories. You saw what my carbs were this weekend, Andrew.
Yeah. So Karen, so this is great. So what, can I tie what you and Lindsey are saying?
Yeah. Today I'm going to a retirement party for my sister. Oh, there we go again, you know, and then we've got the big family wedding in Miami in December, you know. I mean, that is just going to be a blowout. I mean, and I don't want to not enjoy myself along with everyone else.
So Karen, so that's what Lindsey means when she says, so if she can get, so let's put this in context again for Lindsey for long-term health. If she can slowly build her body and build some muscle such that her body is maintaining weight, she's feeling really good at 2,600 calories. What that means is that when she goes on vacation, or if she has a family that says eat, or if she's got Thanksgiving and it's eat, and she's got retirement parties, she's actually going to have a lot of margin for error. But the higher we raise, the more healthy metabolism we give you, meaning the more food you're able to eat and process and turn into muscle and give you daily energy, the more margin for error you have. So I have clients that almost all the time put on their check-in, Andrew, this is the first vacation I've ever been on where I didn't put on 5 pounds. Why? Well, it's because they used to eat 1,200 calories every day and then go on vacation and eat 1,800 or 2,000 and put on 5 pounds. But now, like you, Karen, you're eating, when you're not dieting, you're eating 2,000 calories or more. And so you're able to now diet at 1,600 calories and lose weight there. So with you, Karen, that's why it's essential for most of our clients that we actually build a bigger motor on you, a better metabolism. That better metabolism is going to allow you to maintain your muscle more, give your brain energy more, and handle more food when things maybe kind of go off the rails. Does that kind of make sense to y'all? Like the goal is to give you more freedom.
Yeah, I got this stupid broken toe, and I don't think it's better. But I do have a pre-surgery doctor appointment tomorrow. I have to have a bunch of things done before they'll do this operation on me. So, like an EKG for one. They want an EKG. I guess that's a paranoid anesthesiologist, huh? But anyway, so I'm gonna have them look at my toe again. My toe, it's been 6 weeks and something's not right. That's all I can say. I mean,
maybe Karen, I'll look at your check-in this weekend, but maybe more food. Sometimes bones and muscles repair better with more nutrition. But
I wanted to ask Lindsey a question, and I have heard on the radio something about I guess it's a blood test that helps look for food intolerances. Did you go, or I don't know if it's either genetic or just something in your blood chemistry. Is that something that would have helped figure out what her issues were?
So I've gotten a few tests done. I got the one, the food allergy test where they make a bunch of marks on your back and they test it. And that one has Andrew, I know docs talked about it, but I can't remember why it doesn't really tell us anything of importance. But I've gotten that one done, and I've also had a biopsy done on one of my rashes. But the biopsy is pretty difficult to obtain, and that was testing specifically for an autoimmune disease, and that came up negative. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Honestly, I think my next bet is to get a colonoscopy and go from there. I was just putting that off.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Jennifer, my experience.
Someone that's never had one, the day before is the worst day.
Jennifer, my experience is, this isn't a comment, my experience is my people that send in food intolerance tests get back that they've got 15 intolerances. Egg, gluten, soy, usually people get back that they've got tons of those intolerances. Now, maybe they do. It's just my experience is usually you come back with a laundry list of things to avoid.
And then you realize that, well, anytime that I've had friends before that have gotten them done, it's like they came back that they were allergic to potatoes, but then they realized that in the past, anytime that they've eaten potatoes, they've been fine. So it's like, what do you do
Pretty
with that?
questionable. Yeah.
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 It's kind of like your dog DNA test.
Right.
All right,
Guys, unfortunately, I have to go teach.
Lindsey, thanks for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you all. Feel free to reach out with any questions, or if you need to talk through anything, let me know. But I appreciate y'all listening.
Lindsey, you can jump out.
Thank you very much.
I'll add 2 minutes of disclaimers as you leave. Just a couple of like final things that I was just thinking through. Appreciate your time. We'll
Perfect.
be in touch.
All right. Bye,
Thanks,
y'all.
Lindsey.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. So again, like Lindsey probably could have done a similar strategy and had carbs in, and it would have been just that, the point isn't, is keto bad, is fasting bad? Just to clarify that again, the point is, what are your goals and how can we go there in a way that's sustainable for you? And the reality is you're going to have to do things that are new. We have to change our behaviors, right? Some people are going to have a harder time eating more than eating less. But there are some general paradigms, some general rules that we know about how our bodies work that are important. Some of those are you getting enough calories? Calories do matter. Are you getting enough to fuel your goals? Are you getting sufficient protein? Are you training your muscles? Are you doing the most aggressive thing, or are you doing the thing that kind of makes the most sense for where you are? And at the end of the day, sleep, exercise, nutrition, peace, all those things kind of have to be put together in a context that allows you to live a life of peace. And so, you guys are the narrow few. Y'all aren't trying to do it on your own. And we applaud you for that, and love to do this with you. Because it's a hard challenge. Science is easy. You go into a lab and you manipulate one variable. Humans are really, really hard because we've all got infinite variables. And so it's we think we can learn from everybody, and we're glad to be on this journey with you. Anything else y'all got before I let y'all go?
Thank you for the information.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much. You got any questions? Just reach out. Something might dawn on you tonight at 3 a.m. when you wake up to go to the bathroom. You can email us.
How did you know?
Sally, I see it all. I see it all.
Hey, Andrew, did you read that article I sent you about the metabolism, about waking up at 3 a.m.?
I was going to text you about that. I couldn't get into Epic Times.
I need to send that to you again because it talked specifically about your metabolism and your liver metabolism.
Yeah.
And they gave 3 experiments to try before you go to bed. Drink a tablespoon of olive oil and see if that makes a difference, or take a tablespoon of honey was the, to see if that makes a difference. And the people that took it says if you sleep through 3 a.m. with a tablespoon of honey, that means your liver metabolism is off. It's run out of sugar, and it wakes you up. It wakes you up.
Yeah, so Karen, just a real quick note. This is something that I don't really know about. It might be irresponsible for me to say something, but I don't know about it because I haven't tested it enough personally. But I know a lot of people say if you are overstressed, so meaning like you work really hard, you're moving all the time, you're exercising all the time, and you're not getting enough energy to recover. Specifically, sometimes carbohydrate. So if you're under carbed, like Lindsey talked about in her fast, she and her keto, she didn't sleep. She didn't dive into that, but she was actually sleeping like 5 hours a night. She was like staying awake the whole time. People make the argument that it's cortisol dysregulation, and if you chronically don't have any blood sugar, basically your cortisol increases to increase your blood sugar, and that cortisol keeps you awake. So the tablespoon of honey is like just a little bit of sugar before you go to bed to kind of turn down that cortisol. Not sure if it works. I can test it, but I think that's where they're going with that.
Well, that article kind of touched